About 18 months ago, we launched the Internet Mastery Repricer. And initially, when the idea of launching a repricer came into the conversation with the development team, I wasn't a big proponent of it. I'd had some experience with Amazon's repricer, and it never really worked the way that I thought it should. And then when we delve deep into the power of what this repricer can do and the advent of AI and its ability to understand what's happening and to help everybody who's using it make more money on Amazon, I thought, okay, this is an investment that we need to make. And so we sat down and looked at all of the different repricers that were in the marketplace. What did they do? How complex were they to implement? And what was their effectiveness? And the main takeaway that we received from all of the research we did was that every Amazon seller that is in the highest level of making money on Amazon is using some type of repricer technology. The reality is that it is near impossible in today's competitive Amazon environment to keep up with the pricing and the constant changes that are taking place. Back in the day, we could just hire somebody to go in and update the prices and look at what other sellers had in the buy box or that we were competing with, and then increase our price or decrease our price. And that was because there was no technology that allowed that to happen. Amazon came out with a repricer and they give it away for free. But what you have to understand with Amazon's repricer is simply that its sole purpose is for Amazon to sell more and to make their customers happier by offering lower prices. Amazon's repricer does not have any benefit for the seller on Amazon. You say, well, why would Amazon create a product like that? Well, you have to understand Amazon's logic. Amazon wants you as the seller to offer the product to the customer at the lowest price. So what Amazon did is they created a repricer that enables your price. Once you set your minimum, you put in that number, and then Amazon will lower your price to compete with the other sellers that are lower than you are. But they do not raise your price. They do not move your price up and down. They do not strategically do what is necessary for you to make the most money. They simply drive the price down. That's why a lot of people at the very beginning, when we were talking about repricer, said, well, doesn't the repricer simply drive the price down and we end up not being profitable? Well, yes, if you're utilizing the Amazon repricer. But I think it's important to ask yourself a question. It's October of 2024, and we live in this world driven by technology, for good or bad. And so you have to recognize that you're competing in a marketplace against a lot of other people. And when you compete in that marketplace, do you have the same tools or better tools, better advantage for you than your competitors? When you understand what's happening on Amazon and you realize that, and you'll see this, by the way, when you buy something and you send it to the prep center, then it goes to Amazon, or maybe you send it to Amazon yourself. And by the time it gets to Amazon, the price has changed. It's either gone up or it's gone down or it's the same, but most of the time it is different. Why? Because the price is constantly changing. So what people will say to me is, well, I'll just, I don't want to pay $69 or $99 a month more for my business, even though it's a tax deduction, it'll save me a lot of time and make me more money. I'll just do it myself. So what I need you to understand is it's impossible to do it yourself effectively. That's why we built the tool in the first place. So when you start to think about what's happening on Amazon, what's happening with your product, you say, well, I go in once a day and update my pricing. Well, that's great. Good. At least you're thinking along the right lines, except the problem is the price can change every minute. The price can change every 30 minutes. The price can change every hour. And so during that time period, that 24 hours that you waited, How many sales did you lose because you were not there adjusting your price? It is impossible if you want to be competitive in today's Amazon world when it comes to pricing. Now, if you're selling your own product and you're the only seller, then it's irrelevant, obviously, right? I mean, when I sell my supplements, I don't need to have a repricer on my listing. I'm the only seller. The price never changes unless I go in and make a change. But if I'm doing retail arbitrage, if I'm doing wholesale, then if I don't have a repricer, I'm going to lose every time to someone that has a repricer. And the only way to beat someone with a repricer is to have a better repricer. And thankfully, within our Internet Mastery community, we have the best repricer that's on the market. There's nothing even close. Now, what is a repricer? What does it do? Well, what the repricer will do is it will check every time there's a price change on Amazon, whether you have the ability to compete with that new price. Is your minimum in the range? And so what it will do is it will move your pricing up or down based on your competition on that listing. So when you're going through this process, setting these numbers correctly is really important. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment. But the first thing you have to do is understand the concept. Now, within the repricer, it will provide you with logs. It will show you every time the numbers are changing. And the people that are using this actively see thousands and sometimes tens of thousands or more changes within a 7-day period within their listings. It's incredible, the process of what happens. You say, well, do I need to have this if I only have 2 listings? It depends. You want to make the maximum number of sales, particularly going into the holiday season? Or do you just want to sell what you sell when you get lucky enough to sell it? Like, you have to ask yourself that question. I can't answer that for you. I can only give you advice. You have to make the decision on how you want to manage your business. First thing you have to say is, what is your time worth? And the second thing is, what is the opportunity cost? A repricer at $99 a month, I think it's still $69. It might be $99. I'm not sure. I haven't checked recently. But at night, I'll just use the higher pricing. At $99 a month, it's $3 and change a day. $3 and change. So if the repricer goes in and you've only got 2 or 3 or 4 listings, that's a different issue. But if you've only got 2 or 3 or 4 listings and it changes it 10 or 15 times or 20 times over the course of the day, how could you justify not paying $3 and change for all of that work, particularly if it makes you just one sale during that day that you wouldn't have made without it? It is extremely cost effective. And I know there's always people that are going to say, well, just one more thing to invest in. Well, okay, maybe if that's the way you approach your business. But I want you to understand something. All business have people they work with. There's no business, none, zero, successful business owners that run the entire business on their own, including an Amazon business, by the way. As you grow and scale your business, you need to understand, if you were going to open a restaurant, you wouldn't be the maitre d' and the bartender and the server and the cook and the busser and the cleaner of the dishes, the dishwasher. You wouldn't be all of those things. You would have people to help you. In this business, we have the ability to use technology as our helpers. So instead of hiring someone 24/7, 7 days a week, to look at every single listing, every single minute, which, by the way, would be impossible, for $3 a day, you have the technology that helps you do all of that. And so again, you have to make that decision whether it makes sense for you or not. It would be hard for me to imagine someone being competitive in the fourth quarter, particularly in the fourth quarter, and wanting to maximize their sales and not utilizing the repricer. Now, again, I can't tell you what to do. I know that most of you watching here on this episode probably already have the repricer. That's because you understand the value of it. But if you don't have it, or more importantly, you're not using it properly, which is the majority of the case from what I see, then you have to recognize you're not getting the maximum effectiveness. You say, well, Adam, but I only have 1 or 2 listings. Okay, great. Why don't you maximize those 1 or 2 listings? No matter what you think, I can assure you, you do not have the capacity to update your prices the same way that the repricer does. The repricer doesn't just move your price down. The repricer moves your price up. So if you're competing with someone and let's say that they come in and lowball your price and you're not willing to sell it for that price and then they sell out, well, guess what? Your price goes right back up. And so you have this opportunity to be able to actually, the end result is to sell your items on average for more than you would have if you would have just set your price in Amazon by itself. So the context of understanding, look, think about it this way. If the people you're competing against are using something similar and you're not, then you can't win. And so that's the question you need to ask yourself. Where in the game do you want to play? Do you want to play among the masses? Or do you want to play amongst the elite that are winning? And the ones that are winning are making the most sales. Now, I've talked about this in the past, but I've gone into several, I've done a bunch of roundtable sessions. And in almost every roundtable session that I've done, each person that I've worked with has their repricer set up wrong, even though they know intuitively what they're supposed to do because they have listened to me, watched the videos, heard the trainings, and it's still set up wrong. And so then now, most recently, I've gone into several of your accounts that have repricer, and it's still set up incorrectly. I'm not saying all of you have it set up incorrectly, but some people do. Now, just so you know, one of the benefits of the repricer is the ability to liquidate items fast. I should mention a challenge that some people run into philosophically that doesn't make any common sense. They say, well, if I just lower my price, I'll sell my item faster. That's not necessarily correct. Amazon is not a price-driven marketplace. Let me repeat that. This is very important for you to understand. Amazon is not a price-driven marketplace. Amazon is a demand-driven marketplace. You could put a great product on Amazon at an amazing, unbelievable price. And if no one wants it, it doesn't matter what the price is. People don't go to Amazon and shop for the lowest price. This is not eBay. This is Amazon, where prime buyers don't mind paying a premium to get their items same day or next day. They don't mind. And so if you understand that and you recognize that, hey, maybe I sent in a product to Amazon and it's not selling well, I know what the answer is. I'm going to lower the price. There is a possibility that item will sell. There's also a possibility no one wants the item. And so if you don't buy the proper inventory, it doesn't really matter what the price is. Sometimes people get dejected because they say, well, I've lowered my price. I've got my repricer down at the minimum. It's even at a loss, and I'm still not selling that inventory. Why is that? Because you bought inventory nobody wants. And when that happens, there's not a whole lot that can protect you. That's not the purpose of this conversation, but just understand what Amazon is. It is a market driven based on demand, not based on price. Now, when it comes to products that are selling really well, it is driven by price. And so what your repricer will do is it will lower you, depending on how your settings are, and the default is 1% lower than the lowest price on Amazon. And the challenge that people have is they don't lower their price low enough. Now, when I go into many people's repricers, what I see is I see the profit based on the minimum price set anywhere between 15, 20, and 30% profit. Okay, that's reasonable. So then I go into their logs and I actually read the logs, and the logs will show you what your competitor's price is. And so people will say to me, well, I don't understand. I've got my inventory and, Spy Rival said it would sell 7 a month and I haven't sold any this month. Well, yeah, Spy Rivals also has the understanding that your price is competitive. Now, Spy Rivals can't tell you how to price your inventory. That's your decision. But it makes the conclusion that you're going to be competitively priced. Why is that? Because when you put in your profit and your buy price and your sell price to determine your profitability, you typically do that based on the lowest price on Amazon at that time. And so let me just turn this off. There we go. So if you understand what's happening, you look at your logs inside of your repricer and it says your minimum price is $15. And then it says the buy box price on Amazon is $8. Well, now you know why you're not selling any of those items. You're not competitively priced. And so what people do is they set their minimums too high. You can't really set your maximum too high, although you don't want to go 10%. You don't want to go more than 10% higher than the next seller on Amazon. But your minimum price needs to be very low. Now, this is really scary. This is where the trust factor comes into play. When I say very low, I'm talking about 4 or 5% profit. Now, there will be times where you're going to have to take a loss on your inventory. Now, you say, well, wait a minute. Hold on, Adam. I'm trying to run a business. I haven't made a lot of money yet, and you're telling me I have to take a loss on my inventory. Well, first of all, I'm not mandating it to you. I'm just telling you how it is. This is my opinion. Think about it this way. Have you ever been in a clothing store at the end of the season? What do? They put the inventory 70, 80, and 90% off. Why is that? Because they haven't sold their inventory at the price they wanted, so now they need to liquidate it to get their money back. Even if they have to take a loss on the inventory, they can use that money to go buy better inventory for the next season. This is true for all retailers. You're a retailer. You're just a retailer on Amazon instead of a retailer in the mall. You're still a retailer. So from time to time, particularly when you're new, by the way, you will make wrong buying decisions. We all do. And when you make a bad buying decision, what does that mean? It means very simply that you need to liquidate that inventory. And so if you need to take a little bit of a loss, you take the loss. Now you have a choice. You don't have to take the loss. You can keep the inventory there and hope that it sells. But that lowers your IPI score, lowers your seller performance, and incurs Amazon storage fees. It's always better to get rid of the inventory, get the cash back, and then turn that cash back into more cash by buying the right inventory. So when I talk to people about lowering their minimums and their repricer to 5%, people freak out. Well, I don't want to make 5%. I didn't say you were going to make 5%, did I? I just said put your minimum at 5% of your profit. Why is that? So you can be competitive. Now, it doesn't mean, let me give you an example. Let's say you buy an item for $5 and your minimum is $10. I'm just making up some numbers, okay? You buy it for $5 and your minimum is $10. And let's say your competitor is at $25. You would like to sell it for $25 as well. So your competitor is $25. Well, if your competitor is $25, you're going to come in at $24.75. Whatever 1% less is of $25, that's what the repricer will reprice you at, not your minimum of $10. So the minimum price is not the price you're selling it for. It's the minimum you're willing to sell it for if somebody comes in and drives the price down. Then, when the person either sells out or raises their price or realizes that they're not going to be able to compete at that price, what happens? They'll raise their price. And when they raise their price, your price goes up as well. Now, that doesn't mean you won't make the occasional sale or two at your minimum. And if you did, who cares? You're profitable anyway. The point is that if you're not in the game to win, you can't win. We don't want to be standing on the sidelines We want to be in the game. We don't want to watch the game. We want to be the game. And that means you need to set your minimums at about 4 to 5% more than your as your profit number. Now, one other point that I want to mention, sometimes we want to blow out our inventory, as I mentioned, okay? And if you want to do that, what you need to do is you need to lower your minimum, and sometimes that minimum is below what you paid. That's taking a loss. Now, let's say you bought these $5 items and you have to sell the item for $6 or $5 or $4 or $3. Losing $1 or $2 on an item, but selling the items and building your seller performance is all part of the long-term game. And in addition to that, when you build your seller performance, you're able to get ungated easier, and all other things start to open up on Amazon. It's all about seller performance. So you say, well, if I sell it for less, how does that work? Well, here's the really simple part of the process that most people miss. This is, by the way, just I don't want to call it a glitch. It's just the way the software works. And it's going to be working like this for a while, so there's not a whole lot we can do about it right now. But if you are going to sell your item for less than what you pay for it, you must go in and manually adjust your buy price down. In other words, the repricer will not reprice your item lower than what your buy price is. So if you say, my buy price is 5 and I want to sell it for 10, or no, let's say my buy price is 5, my minimum price is 10, and my maximum price is 50, just to give you some numbers. So my buy price is 5, my minimum price is 10, and I want to sell it for 50, my maximum is 50. If you wanted to go in and set your minimum at $4, you would have to adjust your buy price to somewhere around $3. Now, I know that's not going to give you the perfect metrics of the perfect profitability. I get it. But at this point, it doesn't matter. All you're wanting to do is blow out your inventory. You can write it off on your taxes. It's a small little loss, but then you get the money back and all those other benefits happen. But I'd be willing to bet that for the majority of you, the pricing of the minimum pricing you have set in your repricer is too high because you're scared of selling the items for too little of a price. Now, one of the things that I touched on a few weeks ago, and if I don't tell you this, Christopher Price is going to start asking me about it, so I'll tell you about it now. And that is that as you get closer to the holidays, one of the things you want to look at is the potential of raising your minimum price. The closer you get, only on FBA shipments, by the way, that are at Amazon, because the closer you get to the holidays, the more the sales increase and the less sellers you have because more people will sell out of their inventory. So just consider as you get closer. We're not anywhere near that time frame yet, by the way. I will let you know when that is. But as we get closer, you might want to consider raising your minimum prices just for that holiday period. So I wanted just to encourage you, once again, if you're not using the repricer, you should. There's a small little free trial there. It works beautifully. It works instantly. And it is very simple and easy to use. But I just wanted to really encourage you, particularly this time of the year, to use the repricer. And so that's my thoughts on that. The next thing that I want to remind you all of, for those of you that don't have a ticket, is this. Internet Mastery Underground 2 is a week from tomorrow. It's October 13th, Sunday, October 13th. We are limited to 100 people. We have a very select number of tickets left. I want to make sure everybody who's listening understands what I'm about to say. We are not going to be covering in Internet Mastery Underground 2 the same topics as Internet Mastery Underground 1. This is not a repeat event. So we have a lot of people who got a ticket to the first one, loved it, but have asked me if it's the same content. It is not the same content. And so as a result, I've left the recordings of the first one still available for you to be able to get a ticket to. Now, listen very carefully, okay? This is your business. I can only make suggestions. You have to make decisions. If you are struggling getting ungated, if you want to discover how to use Target and Kohl's invoices or receipts, whatever you want to call them, to get ungated, I spend almost 6 hours showing you how to get ungated for some of the most popular brands on Amazon using retail invoices or receipts and other methods, both beginner and advanced. I've had a bunch of people say to me, well, I know all of that. Okay, I don't think so, but if you think you know it all, then I can't help you really. That's your decision. But if you, let me say it this way, when you come to Internet Mastery Underground number 2, the challenge that I'm having, and I'm working through it, don't worry, we'll be fine, is making sure that I'm not covering the same information and yet not making anyone feel like they are behind if they missed the first one. The first one, the event that we did a few weeks ago, is really special. And if you don't have a ticket to it, I mean, there's people who are posting in our Facebook group, and listen, that have said, I'm trying to get ungated using a Target invoice and it's not working. And my advice was, get a ticket to Internet Mastery Underground number 1. They haven't done that. That's okay. But they're still struggling with that topic. And the topics covered at the Internet Mastery Underground events are not covered in Facebook. We don't allow posts that ask about them to be accepted into Facebook. That's the rule of being part of the Underground. And it is just simply over the top deep dives into some topics that change your entire perspective on how you look at your business. If you want to get a ticket, we'd love to have you. If you don't want to get a ticket, as always, it is certainly your decision. But it's really important. Listen, you need to be proactive, okay? I'm getting questions like, where does the event take place? I'm getting questions like, how much is the ticket? But the link in the description of the post that is being responded to has all of that information. So if you just read through it, go through it, and make the decision, and let me also just share with you that when you buy the replays, you get instant access. So you want to get them sooner than later so you can rewatch them and be prepared for the second one. Again, you don't have to have attended the first one, but I do think it would be helpful. The second thing, there's a lot of people who are just not available on Sunday, October 13th. No problem. The 6-hour event will be recorded, and within an hour after the event, the replays will be sent out. And so whether you can make it live or not, the content is the same. The information is the same. And so it's worth it whether you join live as it's happening or you watch the replay. The reality is that almost everyone who attended live has had to watch the replay anyway because there was so much information. So I just wanted to make you aware of that and just strongly suggest if you don't have a ticket, you get one, but whatever you want to do is going to work for me. With that being said, here's what I want to do. I want to see if anybody has any questions, anything that I can help you with, any thoughts, any input, anything that you have a challenge with. I'm more than happy to address your question. I've got a few minutes here to be able to do that as always. So if you have a question, please post it in the chat box so that I can answer it for you. One of the things I want to just briefly mention to you, just so everybody's on the same page, the Prep Center, which by the way is crushing it. I mean, the Prep Center is just doing a phenomenal job. And the team there is amazing. The Prep Center will never send anyone an admin fee for a plan that's on and in the Prep Center. I just want to be very clear. We have some people saying that I already have a plan and yet I'm getting this admin fee. Let me just be very direct with you. There is no plan. You have not submitted. I know you might think you did, but our technology is pretty advanced. We track everything in your account. We track everything in the Prep Center account. And if there is no plan, it is your responsibility, of course, to submit the plan before you send the items to the Prep Center. Then you're going to have to pay the fee. If you don't want to pay the fee, it's on you. But just understand that access to the Prep Center will be restricted for all plans, and your inventory will be disposed of. So if that's the approach you want to take, we're fine with it. But there's not a battle. It's not an argument. It's not something anyone can win. It's all there. And the Prep Center has no fight in the game. They're not trying to collect admin fees. The Prep Center doesn't get the admin fee. So it's not like they're trying to charge people things that aren't due. All right, let's see. While I went on that little Prep Center rant, I didn't see any questions come in. Let me see. Hold on one second here. And I think it literally just ended.